Bro, I'm a little annoyed. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little annoyed that those sub sounds were crunchy again because I spent some time this morning looking up some solutions on the internet. I did one of the things that they recommended, and then when I tried it, it worked, and it wasn't crunchy. And then I start stream, and the first thing I hear is the freaking crunchy subs. I don't know what to do, man. I might have to set it up all over, like from scratch. I don't know, man. Anyways, welcome to the Monday stream, everybody. Welcome to the Monday stream. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. Accept your fate. Dude, I might have to accept my fate. Maybe the I lowered the volume for now, so maybe it's not as bad, but we'll see. You look different. Yeah, I'm baby Josh again. I shaved. We are babies now. Andrew and Steru, thank you guys for the subs. Also Jordanian and Tumo, appreciate you guys. Yeah. Welcome to the Monday stream. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, positive and negative things. It's gonna be a fun one, I think. We're going to be talking everything TCG related that's happened over the course of the weekend. That is, of course, the Edison news. The TCG Nationals. I want to have a little bit of a format talk as well, now that Alliance Inside format is basically in full swing, and we've had some of the bigger nationals, including Italian nationals as well, after French nationals, and there's basically only one weekend left of national season, which is German and UK nationals, and I believe Belgium, and I think one or two others were also happening on the next weekend, but yeah. So, wanted to do a little bit of that. We have a new OCG metagame report as well, and then we're just hopping into Master Duel because I'm also in the middle of my Duelist Cup / Worlds Qualifier preparation at the moment. So yeah, that is also something. SAWCQ finished. SAWCQ happened. However, I was checking at least on yugioh Pro deck. I couldn't. The info on it is very, very incomplete. Like they don't even have the winning deck for SAWCQ. So it did happen, but there's not that much to talk about. Irish and Swedish is in 3 weeks. Oh, really? Wait, didn't you tell me Swedish? They didn't have Swedish this year? I thought you said that it's only Denmark that had a nationals. Did they change that? They announced it. Oh, okay. So they announced it super late. Oh, okay. Well then. Let us warm up real quick, and then let's get into it. They errata the nationals list, yeah. All right, let's get some cards before we begin. Yeah. Oh, that is Vanguard of the Dragon. I know him. I don't know what that is. I thought it was man at first, but it's not man. Millennium Seeker. This is Vivid Tail? No, it's something Dynamorphia, I feel like. Cantragina, maybe? No. It's one of the... I think it's one of the spell traps. I'm just gonna guess one of them. Shell. It was not Shell, unfortunate. I'm skipping. I'm pretty sure it's a spell trap. Brute. One of the traps. Yeah, you know, one of the traps is not that helpful. Cosmic Gateway. When it's Dynamorphia, it has like only traps, basically. That ZW, but I don't even know if it's worth trying. Pegasus, no. Phoenix Bow. All right. This feels familiar. That's a Bujin. Mikazuchi? Yeah. Ooh, Nether. This one? Yeah. Oh, half or nothing. I don't know this one. I feel like I've seen it, but I can't name it. Bahalutia. Okay. Okay. Something Scout. Heroes. No, it's not Heroes Shadow Scout, though. That's the other one. Meto? Meteo? Metoko? I'm skipping. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what it is. I clearly don't know what it's called. I've seen it, though. Meo Toko. Ah, Jesus Christ. Archfiend. Ascent. Ascent. Wait, why is this one with a T? Well. Well, that is... But I think it's not... Oh, it's UFO Roid Fighter. UFO Roid Fighter, I think. Yeah. Could be Stardust Spark Dragon? No. Oh, it's Assault Mode, yeah. Stardust Dragon Assault Mode. It's a dragon, like, it's one tribute, strong wind dragon, yeah. Yeah, it's a Yang Zing. Yang Zing Unleashed. I've seen this. This is a Trick Star, but it's not one of the ones you played, unfortunately. Bloom. Bloom. Fogblade, isn't it? No. Umbral Horror. Unform. Okay. It kind of looked like Fogblade. Prohibit Snake. Coral Dragon. I think. No. What do you mean no? Oh god, okay. Submersible. It's not quite Coral Dragon. I believe that is that a Megalith card? I feel like it is. Maybe it's not. Nexus? Dogmatica Nexus. Okay. Not a Megalith. I mean, it's probably gonna have infinity in its name. Okay. something recycling batteries. Yeah. Lekunga. That is Cyber Petite Angel, but it's not the card. It's on another artwork here. Maybe Machine Angel Ritual? No. Perfection Machine. That's not a thing. That does not exist. Magnificent Machine Angel. Okay. Trident. Unfortunately familiar with that card. Master Key. I believe that is Celestial. Mm-hmm. Fish and kicks. Nice. 50-51. That is a Mikanko. That is not Huli, not Hare, Nini? Yeah. Oh, Vernusilf. Corolla, I think. I've seen this card. It's like something in the sky. It's the fountain in the sky. Yeah. No? Huh? It's not the fountain in the sky. The sacred. Come on, man. Come on, man. Don't do me like that. That's Urnite. Knight of Koaki. Huh? Koakimaru. Urnite. No K. Oh my god. Ling Ling. That is Arlecchino. No, Gentrude. Ah, Gentrude. Don't know what that is. Oh, is it Goki? Okay. That is Cat Shark. That is Squamata. This feels very familiar. I feel like that's a rock monster. Totem Dragon. Not a rock. Not a rock. But it is familiar. Ooh, it's like the dark rainbow thingy. Dark rainbow, is that a thing? Rainbow, is it gravity? Oh. Phantom Knight vibes? No, it's not a Phantom Knight. Dude. Rhino Taurus. Yeah. Fujin Carnation? Yeah. That is Rainbow Bridge of Salvation, I think. Yeah. Who are you? Something like Lady Brilliant Diamond? Or just Lady Diamond? Lady... Wait, what? Lady Rose? Lady Rose Diamond! Okay, I didn't know there was this many diamonds. I know this one. Oh, I know this one. It's the dark thingy that's like 2 tributes. Double cost on, yeah. Yeah. That is Tex. Frog. Wait. Skipper? Isn't there like another one that's like Tex Frog or something? I've seen this one 100%, but I have no idea what it's called. Dark Diviner. Yeah, there is, but it looks nothing like Skipper. Okay, you know what? You could have just said yes, there is, instead of telling me how stupid it was to it's Azla. Yeah. Is that the Immortal Phoenix? Yeah. All right, well, we hit 700 at least. It was okay. Dude, this is the it's not Barrel Dragon. It's the Trap. I don't know what it's called, man. Photon Blast. Proton Blast. Proton Blast. Okay. Well, 729. It's all right. It's average. It's a little washed. It's a little more on the washed side, but it's not terrible. It's not terrible. It was okay. It was okay. Okay, we are looking for a card that could potentially have Monarch stats. Let's try Kuraz. No, Kuraz is a warrior. It's not a warrior. Let's try Ryza. Ooh, it is a wind with 2400 attack. It is not an exceed. It's from 2008 to 2014. A wind level 7 or 8. It's probably a synchro, right? Level 7 synchro wind. What is there? Speedroid? Speedroid synchro, anyone? 2400 attack? No, wait. What is it? Oh, it is 2400 attack. Yeah, 2400 attack. Anyone? No. Dragoonity? Dragoonity? I can check, but most Dragoonity synchros are level 6, but they might have some level 8s. Dragoonity Knight. There's a level 8. No, that's not it. It is a level 7 wind synchro, 2400 attack from 2012 to 2014. Mecha Phantom Beast. Mecha Phantom Beast would fit into that time. And it is it's level 7. Yeah, level 7. Mecha Phantom Beast Konkoruda. Alright, there we go. There we go. Figured it out. Easy clap. Alright, warm up out of the way. Welcome to the stream, everybody. We have a couple of things to talk about that happened over the course of the weekend regarding TCG in multiple different ways. And the first thing we're going to talk about is, of course, the Edison drama, I suppose. I don't use the word drama very often, but I feel like this time around it kind of felt like a drama over the course of the weekend. When I was logging into Twitter or YouTube, my timeline was full with people complaining about it. So let's talk about it just for context, so we're all on the same page. What has happened? Let me move over here so we can read it together. They have announced some rule changes for not just Edison format, but also Time Wizard in general. But of course, it does mostly affect Edison format because that is currently the biggest Time Wizard format, but it also affects GOAT and some other Time Wizard formats as well that are more or less popular. But Time Wizard events use the available cards, Forbidden and Limited list, rule regarding drawing on the first turn, and the dueling field of the selected Time Wizard format. So that's going to remain the same. You're still going to be drawing a card when you're going first in those older formats, and you're still also going to use the same dual field layout, so like no extra monster zone or something like that. But starting at the NAWCQ, current game mechanics and current card text will be used for Time Wizard events. There will primarily be 3 Time Wizard formats offered as public events, blah, blah, blah. And then they're just explaining what kind of formats they're offering at the NAWCQ, and then they're also saying, while these 3 formats will be the primary formats offered, they aren't the only formats possible. If you and your friends would like to play a different format, you know, basically you can go up and say like, hey, we have 8 people, we want to play Teledad side events, can we get an 8-man Teledad side event going? And then that might be happening or whatever. But the big news here is that starting at the NAWCQ, current game mechanics and current card text will be used for Time Wizard events. Now, what does this mean? And this is something, it's basically someone who only plays modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And doesn't really mess with Time Wizard at all might not even be aware of this, but some of these older formats actually play Yu-Gi-Oh! Under different rule sets, like the Forbidden and Limited list and the rules regarding the drawing and stuff is not the only thing that has changed over the course of the years. There's also very important things that are different, like cards have gotten errataed over the times. We can talk about some examples of this that are specifically relevant for Edison. Like things that come to mind immediately are like Brain Control, Goyo Guardian, Future Fusion, and there's a bunch more that have changed over the course of the years. Even something like Treeborn Frog has received minor text changes, or like Sinister Serpent for Goat Control and stuff like that. And there's also other things even that has nothing to do with the card text. Also, something like this means that in older formats, you no longer have priority at official tournaments, right? Which was a thing back in the day, which, to be fair, I'll go out on a limb here and say priority was a rule that never really made sense. Like the fact that they got rid of priority was a good thing. You know, priority was a little weird, the fact that it even existed in the first place. But of course, all what this means is that when you go to a Time Wizard tournament with the intent of reliving the exact way Yu-Gi-Oh! Was played back in the day, this will no longer be the case, right? Like no longer will these old formats feel exactly the same way as they did back in the day. That I think that is the biggest critique point. This was, at least from what I've seen, a pretty it was not a well-received thing. Like it's people have been mad about this simply because I feel like people want to play old Yu-Gi-Oh! The way it was back in the day, and that is not exactly the case anymore. I personally understand this 100%. I do see some reasons as to why they're doing it, and it doesn't affect me as much personally, because while I do like to play some Time Wizard, I usually travel to the bigger events for the main event, and I don't usually have that much time to participate in Time Wizard, like official tournaments. The majority of the time when I play Time Wizard, it's with friends, right, at home, or even at like tournaments, I can sit down with friends and play some Time Wizard. That is most of the time how I do it. And in those cases, this will not affect the way I play Time Wizard with my friends. Like if I want to play Time Wizard with the old rules with my friends, I can still do that. For official tournaments, of course, this is something that is going to impact it a decent amount. The only comparison I personally have to this is that this is basically how the Time Wizard Duel trials have worked in Master Duel, right? In Master Duel, they had those sort of like 2005 GOAT format or 2010 Edison format. They had those duel trials with those older ban lists and older card pool and stuff like that. In those settings, you still had to play with the new card text, for example, right? Like in those events, you still played with Aradad, Brain Control, Aradad, Future Fusion, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to be honest with you, even though that was one of my critique points of those events, I still had a great time when they happened. And I think that, I guess, is something that is to take away from this entire thing, is like, you can still have fun with those kind of rule sets. It's a change to Edison format. It is. You're not playing Edison format the same way that you did back in the day. But it's still, a lot of it is still going to be the same. Like, it's like 90% the same. Even though some very important cards work differently, it still doesn't mean the format is terrible. I know people are not very happy with change in general when they've just been going to Time Wizard events over the last couple of years. And I do think there's a realistic chance that if this is something that that people don't like, that are traveling to major events to play in the Ultimate Time Wizard tournaments, people might stop doing that. And then there is a world where, you know, that is the feedback that they receive, basically, like these events are now less popular than before, so we're going to revert this or something. For the most part, I don't think this is a positive change, even though I do see some of the reasoning for it, which I don't know. Let's think about the reasoning for a second, at least. What could they be? Because I've been wondering about this in general. Like, why did they change this to begin with? And I feel like, just trying to think about it, like, this does make it so the rules of Time Wizard formats are more in line with the rules of modern Yu-Gi-Oh, of course. And I feel like you have to think about it from a perspective of, why are they offering Time Wizard events to begin with, right? Time Wizard events, they're not being offered to sell Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I feel like, because the majority of Edison players have their cards, and they don't really need to buy new product to get their cards. I mean, there's been retro cards in the rarity collections, but for the most part, you know, they're not making a ton of money off of people playing Time Wizard, because they usually use old cards. They are not interested in the new stuff. So what's the reason for offering Time Wizard events, right? Because, I mean, they're not making a lot of money off of it. I feel like they are offering these tournaments as a way for people to get back into the game. Like, people that played back in the day can kind of like return to Yu-Gi-Oh in an easier way than just like playing Modern right off the bat. And I feel like maybe what they thought was, it's an easier way for people to get into Yu-Gi-Oh if the rules are the same. Like, I mean, someone like, and I do think this is a valid point, by the way. At least from my experience, there's definitely people that, like, when they get back into Yu-Gi-Oh, the first thing they are recommended is like, play some Time Wizard to get used to the game before you play Modern or whatever. Like, that is something that does happen. And then I feel like maybe it's weird for those people when they play Time Wizard with completely different rule sets. Like, they're so used to priority and maybe other rulings that are different and so on and so forth. And I think that is maybe easier to get into modern Yu-Gi-Oh if you are used to the exact same rules. Because I mean, it's not the exact same, because like Pendulum Zone and Extra Monster Zone is like different, but like the rest is going to be the same. It also makes it a lot easier for judges at events to judge Time Wizard, because I'm basically, and I can tell you this from my perspective, even as someone who's played in 2010, you forget about these rulings. Like, you don't remember. I don't remember all the things how they were in 2010. And when I play Edison, I always have to remind myself, like, how did this work again? Like, did Raiko target? Did this card, like, how did this card interact? How did this ruling work? And a lot of judges, they judge like you'd have to if you want to do it properly, you'd have to basically have judges specifically learning Time Wizard stuff and just to host Time Wizard events in the exact same form as they were back in the day, which ultimately maybe they reached the conclusion it wasn't worth it, right? Like maybe it's not worth. And the thing is, like, yes, this changes Edison, but in some ways it also like changes Edison not even for the worst. Like, I would argue, I'll go out on a limb here, and Dragon players are going to hate me for this, but Future Fusion was a card that should have never been printed the way it was printed. So maybe if we're removing Future Fusion from Edison format, maybe there's a world where it becomes a better format. I know you're going to hate me for saying this, but Edison format, like, there's a couple of cards. There is a couple of cards that are not healthy. And I'm not talking about my boy Goyo Guardian. They did my boy Goyo Guardian dirty, okay? But Future Fusion is one of the examples that has received a well-deserved errata. But yeah, I don't know. And then Priority as well. Priority is a ruling that they removed because it didn't make sense, ultimately. No one is asking these days to bring Priority back. So yes, it changes Edison format, but it still remains a good format. So ultimately, I personally can still see myself entering a Time Wizard events with those slightly adjusted rules. I think it's 100% like valid if people hate these changes and they want to play Edison exactly the way it was back in the day. I think that's valid. For me personally, this is not as big of a deal as people are making it, because I can still see myself entering these tournaments, and I can still see myself having fun in these. And I do see some of the reasonings behind it. So I don't know how to feel about this exactly. I think if you want to have fun at an Edison public event, like at a major event, I think that is still possible, even when you can't play Goyo Guardian, or even when like Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon has a text changer or whatever. So I don't think this is as massive of a deal. Bryonac, Brain Control, Red MD, Raiko, Absolute Zero. Yeah, there's changes. I'm not saying it changes nothing. I'm just saying that what's left after all these changes might still be a good format. And it's still going to be fun, I think. And it's still going to be reminiscent of old Yu-Gi-Oh! in a lot of ways still. Like, it's just basically, in some ways, it brings some fresh air into Edison format, you know, which is not the worst thing ever. It's not about whether it's enjoyable. This change kills Edison's identity. Brio errata plus no Brio is basically demolishing the iconic play that Brio is. At these public events, yes. But you can still play Edison. Like, where did Edison come from? Edison came from a place where people just played it with their friends. It became popular because people played it so much. It didn't get popularized by Konami or by public events at YCSs. That's not where Edison is coming from. You can still play Edison. These retro formats will still exist as long as people like them. So I don't agree with people that are saying it's as crazy. Yes, and now you can never play it at an official event again. You can only never play it at an official event again if you are not willing to even try the new format. Because I see you guys saying like, oh, Josh, Konami influencer and stuff like that, which, by the way, shut up. I can have opinions that are not negative about the game. I know you are used to content creators always just having negative opinions about everything. And I'm not saying it's a positive change. I'm giving you a perspective of what to make out of it. I am saying that your criticism is 100% valid if you listened to what I was saying. And I do think that this changes Edison, and I do think it's valid to not like it, but I also think it is valid to maybe think about whether it is still playable with that. And I do think it is. And I can say this from my experience. I've played this format in Master Duel. This exact format, basically. I've played it in Master Duel, and it was still fun. I had a great time in the GOAT Duel trial. I had a great time in the Edison Duel trial. They were all fun. They all still felt like, to me, as someone who's played back in the day, they still felt nostalgic, and they are fine. And I see the reasons why they're doing this to make it easier for judges, to make it easier for people to switch over from from Time Wizard to Modern. There are reasons for this, and Priority was a stupid ruling anyways. Some Yu-Gi-Oh cards deserve to get changed, except for my boy Goyo Guardian, and I think ultimately it's just fine. That is genuinely my opinion on this. I am paid for Challenger Cups. I am paid for other things. I am not paid for my opinion on the Time Wizard change. And I tell you like twice a stream how much I hate Snake Eyes and how much I hate Tenpai. So I'm allowed to have negative opinions, and I voice my negative opinions. But this one is just genuinely something that I, as a big fan of Time Wizard formats, still don't feel that negatively about. Do you think they might revert some erratas that don't make sense, like Goyo and Writing Control? That is a different topic. That is something I would like to see in general. If we are changing cards that are too powerful, I feel like you should be able to revert them back at some point. Like, I think that is a legit criticism of erratas. Like, I don't like it that, like, Goyo Guardian in its modern state, even though it would be no problem at all, has not gone back to its old print. I know it's like erratas in general are like a logistical nightmare, but I would like to see them go back on some of these. But yeah, they could just go like, okay, this change we've made 10 years ago or whatever, or 12 years ago, does not seem to be appropriate anymore. We're going to change it back. I think that'd be a cool thing to do. But yeah, that's a different discussion. In general, I'm not a fan of erratas, but that's a different topic. Right, like I'm not a fan of changing a card. I think if a card is too powerful, I'd rather see it just be banned and they print like a new version of it. Like, they've done a lot of retrains on classic cards, right? Like, I think if they just printed a card with like a Sangan retrain, that would have been cooler than a Sangan errata, for example. And then just if you think Sangan's a problem, then just keep it banned. That would be my preferred way of handling it. But yeah, that's not the world we'll live in, unfortunately. But yeah. Don't you think it enables a more floodgatey environment? If the trade-off is getting cards like the new Necro Valley and the post-2011 rivalry Gozen rulings, I don't think it's worth. See, I don't think they are thinking about it in that way. Like, you might be right, but I think this is more like a decision out of principle, where they don't want the landscape of public events at official tournaments to be like essentially Time Wizard formats with different rule sets for every single one of them, which is like a nightmare to judge. And it is difficult for people to play. Like, it is in some ways, it is a little gatekeepy. Because, like, yes, if you are super into Edison format and you know all these rules, you are going to have a massive advantage over someone who goes to a public event and maybe wants to try Edison format for the first time, but they're only playing modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, you play that, like, there's going to be so many instances where those people lose games because they are not familiar with the old rules. That does happen. That does happen. Because they are super familiar with modern Yu-Gi-Oh rules, but they just want to play like a Time Wizard event just to see what it's like. And then they lose because they don't know the rules or whatever. That does happen. That's just for knowledge. I don't know if that's a good argument. I think the argument is not whether that's good or bad. The argument is that is a barrier to entry for Time Wizard formats for someone who's never played them before. And I think that is something they're trying to remove. The first time I played Time Wizard, I was told I can't respond to a summon, and I thought they were cheating. What, like they use priority? They like use priority before you chained or something? Yeah. No, I mean, I honestly, I think this is kind of whatever. It's just something Konami shouldn't touch. See, on the one hand, everyone is asking for better support by Konami for these Time Wizard tournaments and acknowledge that people are playing them. But then when they host them themselves by their own rules, people are also upset. I don't know. Because I don't understand. I feel like this is not a positive change, but I think people are just overreacting. I feel like people are just overreacting to this because they are just changing them for no reason. See, the thing is, we've just spent like 15 minutes talking about potential reasons, and people like you are just not willing to listen. At which point, it's just not really worth having a discourse over it. Like, if you're not willing to accept the fact that there are reasons for this, then obviously you're not really going to be worth discussing with, and you're not bringing anything valuable to the table when you're talking about the topic. The reason is obvious. It makes things smoother for judges, but it's a reason that massively benefits Konami more so than players. I don't think this is true. I genuinely don't think this is true. I think it benefits new players to Edison format a lot. I think as someone who has played back in the day, I understand all these rules, and I think I can play in a Time Wizard format, whatever. But I think someone who only plays modern Yu-Gi-Oh, if they want to try Time Wizard, it's a lot easier now than it was before, because they can just go and always they can rely on the rules that they know from modern Yu-Gi-Oh. They can look up cards in the official database and see the most modern version of the text always, and not guess which was the text at the time of Edison format or GOAT format or whatever, because cards change multiple times sometimes. And they don't have to worry about not knowing a ruling like priority or does compulse trigger this absolute zero or not. These kind of things are definitely in favor of the player. Erratas are a huge barrier to entry and the reason I stopped Edison. There you go. It's one example. But these things are very fixable. I mean, yeah, but like that is one attempt at doing it. Right? That is what they are attempting with this. And I think if people would just get over this initial reaction, because I'm telling you right now, when I saw this yesterday, I had the exact same reaction. My initial gut reaction was the same thing. Why are they doing this? This is stupid. I just want to play Edison the way it was. Right? That was my initial reaction to this. The more I think about it, though, the more I understand reasons, and the more I'm willing to try this format. And I have tried this format in Master Duel before, and it was still fun. So overall, if people would just get over this initial overreaction and just be like, okay, you know what? I'm willing to play this event. I'm just going to take like Brain Control out of my deck and Goyo Guardian out of my deck and try to make it work without it, and just get used to playing without priority. I think you would still see the point of the format, and you'd still have fun at these events. And if people don't like it, then people are going to stop playing in these events, and then they might revert it or whatever. Like, then official Time Wizard is not going to be a thing anymore, and people are just going to play with their friends the way they used to, which is also completely fine. New Mikanko support? Yeah, we'll look at that in a second. But yeah, it's okay. The only thing that always annoys me about this kind of stuff, genuinely, and I see this right now again, is the fact that like you guys are actively like not accepting that people can have other opinions. Like you will use any excuse to not accept the fact that maybe someone has a different opinion. Like you will tell me, oh yeah, you're just paid by Konami. You're obviously a Konami influencer and whatever. When I say negative stuff about Yu-Gi-Oh all the time, and I feel like I'm trying to be very calm and have a real discussion about this, and like it's, I don't know, it's weird. It gives me a weird vibe whenever we have these sort of discussions. Whenever there is something like this, that's why I try to avoid the more dramatic stuff usually, and because it genuinely just bugs me the way people discuss in this community. It's not just this community, it's in general on the internet. Right? Like I don't know. I feel like people are not yeah. Neil, thank you for the 40. Appreciate you. Hat format enjoyers stay winning. Yeah, I mean for hat it doesn't change much, I don't think. All right. I feel like these changes hurt GOAT more than Edison. What happens in GOAT other than, I mean, Sinister Serpent? And then, okay, Dark Magician of Chaos. Yeah, that's a big one. Sangan doesn't matter in Edison, I don't think. Prio is huge. Yeah, Prio is huge. But I like, for me personally, Prio is the one that I care about the least because I think Prio was always a bad rule. Like, yeah. Yeah, those were some of the changed cards. What's that site? I don't know, dude. You tell me. No, Prio, like, the thing is, the only reason to want to play those formats with Prio is you want it to be exactly the way it was back in the day, which is valid. But at the same time, like, those formats are still going to be playable without Prio, and Prio was stupid to begin with. Hat changes too. DD Crow is a huge staple, and it doesn't negate cards like Atlanteans anymore. Wait, no, Crow negates Atlanteans. If they send an Atlantean for cost with like Undyne and you Crow it, it doesn't trigger in modern Yu-Gi-Oh. It's like if you Crow a Hieratic Seals or something, or Bestial a Hieratic Seals, it does stop those. So at this point, you're just making stuff up. It used to be different in NA and EU. That is true. It used to be different between NA and EU. I don't remember which one was which. I believe in EU was where it still would trigger, I think. But yeah, honestly, this sort of the kind of things you're mentioning right now is like the exact thing why I think this is actually like what the reason is to make this happen. Because as someone who plays modern Yu-Gi-Oh, you will know this sort of stuff, or you will think you know this sort of stuff, but then it just, depending on which Time Wizard format you enter, it just changes arbitrarily almost. Like you have no idea when exactly did this change or did this not change? And so like you have a DD Crow in your hand, your opponent does something, and you don't know whether it's going to work or not. So I think being consistent about this sort of stuff is not a bad thing. There are reasons doesn't make the format better for the existing Ultimate Time Wizard player base who currently travel to events exclusively for those events. And that's why I'm saying like it is valid for those people to be upset about it. And I'm saying specifically it doesn't affect me as much because I don't do that. Like the people that travel to these tournaments specifically for Ultimate Time Wizard because they want to play Edison format specifically, I can understand why those people are mad. But at the same time, I still think there's going to be a huge chunk of those players that if they were willing to just try this for a bit, like if you just go and try and play this, you're going to find that it still is good. And I think they're going to be fine. Also, the other thing, and that this is an unfortunate truth, is that like these hardcore Time Wizard duelists are essentially making Konami no money, is the kind of thing you have to realize. My problem is that this is a very arbitrary and becomes a very slippery slope. This is just a new Edison Master Rule. New ban list, basically. At that point, why not add a couple new cards or two, change the draw rule, or add take away more stuff? What? No. This is not a slippery slope at all. This just says Time Wizard is now consistent with modern Yu-Gi-Oh rules. That's all it does. It's just, you're just making stuff up to be mad. You're just like, oh, now they're changing this. Tomorrow they're gonna ban Raiko or whatever. Like, it's just, you're just making stuff up. And that's why I'm saying people are overreacting to this. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's not the biggest deal in the world, and I think people are gonna get over it, and people are either gonna decide the format is still worth playing or they won't. But I kind of see where they're coming from. Future Fusion 2, which is huge. I'm not arguing that it doesn't change the format. It obviously changes the format. Changes are not always terrible though. Future Fusion, for example, is a fucked up powerful card that deserves to be changed. So some of these changes are for the worse, some of these changes are for the better, but it's not like, you know. Now you're making it opinion based. I just said changes in general are not good or bad. And as an example, I used Future Fusion, which is not a bad change. I'm not saying it's good because Future Fusion gets worse. There's cards that I definitely will miss in Edison format, like Goyo Guardian. And I said this a bunch of times over the course of the last minutes. But I just struggle to see how this is that big of a deal and how it's so hard to understand why they did that. But yeah, I feel like we're not making progress. I think people that want to be negative about this at all costs are going to be negative about this at all costs. And people that are able to be reasoned with will be reasoned with and maybe try the format and maybe still like it or maybe dislike it, because I can't really predict what Edison format is going to look like with those changes. All I know is that I still had a ton of fun in the Master Duel ones that had basically been exactly this. And so I think people can still have fun with it. And if people still want to play the old rules with exact same cards, they can still do so outside of the public events. But yeah. All right, let's move on. Did we have any new cards? I don't think so. Wait, no, we do. We do have a new card here. That card? This the Dark Magician Trap. And Mikanko as well. Where's Mikanko? Oh, there. Okay. Dude, who asked for Mikanko support, man? Who of you did that? Okay. Dancing in the Flames with Mikanko. We've got new Mikanko support in TTP1. Don't know exactly when we're going to get those. I don't think that is a main set, but let's see. We have an Earth Mikanko over here with is Sanaki the Mikanko devotee, Earth Illusion, level 3. You can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. You can target a Mikanko card you control, return it to the hand. If either player equips an equip card to this card, you can special summon a non-illusion Mikanko monster from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Mikanko monsters. Okay, I like this second effect a lot for 2 reasons. First of all, it's powerful. But second of all, I think the lock here is very important. Because Mikanko has shown in the past that is a highly splashable engine in other decks. Like, I mean, pure Mikanko has basically not really been a thing. Most of the time, people have been pairing Mikanko with like some sort of like Isold or like Warrior Slop or Interlements or whatever, just to like Ohime. And so this like makes it so you actually have to play a Mikanko deck. And they give them an extra deck monster, I can see down here. Because I was just thinking, did they even have an extra deck monster beforehand? I don't think so. So this is a very powerful effect. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a face-up monster on the field, equip this card to it. Okay, so this can potentially also be helpful because some of the other Mikankos, like the one you summon from this, right? You summon one Mikanko from your deck, then you maybe get this into the graveyard somehow, then you can equip it to the other Mikanko, and then it's going to trigger because a lot of them have, or all of them have an effect when they are equipped. Yeah. It can also be used by Sanctifier, ... Okay. So what you're saying is you're going to give this to your opponent with Sanctifier, and then you're just hoping that they lock themselves with a optional effect that requires them to have Mikankos in their deck? That's what you're afraid of? I feel like we have to reevaluate the things we're scared of at this point, or we think about this a little bit longer before we doom post. Yeah. Uzuhime, the Manifested Mikanko. Light Fairy rank 3/0/0, 2 level 3 Mikanko monsters. You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can add an equip spell from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Okay, that's very powerful. I'm very glad that that is behind, like, it's not a generic rank 3. That's good. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving this card. If this card attacks, at the end of the damage step, you can detach a material from this card. It can make another attack in a row. Okay. Yeah, that's potentially a lot of damage if your opponent has a big monster, right? Like, you just run into it twice. Also, it adds an equip spell on summon. This seems good. It does search. Oh, wait, no, that's not once per turn even. You can do it 3 times. Oh. Yeah. No, that's a really easy, like, win con. It also searches double-edged sword, right? So this on its own is just game against everything, right? Like, as long as your opponent has a monster, this searching double-edged sword is always going to be game, right? Like, no matter what. But it does require your opponent to have a monster, at least, which is different from Tenpai. Well, yeah, no, that's very powerful. There's more. Okay. Oh, no, that's just an alt art. Okay. We have Mikanko Divine Dance, which is a normal spell card. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. You cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, except Mikanko monsters. Also send one Mikanko card from your deck to the grave. Then you can set a Mikanko spell trap from your deck, except Divine Dance. You can banish this card from your grave and detach an Xyz material from your monsters. Special summon a Mikanko ritual from your hand or deck. Okay, so I like what they are doing here, because initially when I heard Mikanko support, I was like, oh no, this is going to basically just make more slop decks happen where they just use Mikanko to combo. Now, whether you like the win con of Mikanko or not is besides the point here, but these cards basically absolutely only support pure Mikanko, because they lock you very, very specifically into Mikanko from the extra deck, which basically means you can just summon this from the extra deck, nothing else, because they have no other Mikanko extra deck monsters, unless I'm forgetting something, but I don't think there was one. So these are very powerful cards, but they can only be used in pure Mikanko, which basically has not existed. So I think this is somewhat fine, because, I mean, pure Mikanko, if you're locked into Mikanko from the extra deck, the only thing you can really do is blind second, right? So, like, because other than that, what kind, I mean, I guess Mikanko can set up some sort of end board, but, like, I don't know how crazy it's really going to be. For the most part, it's probably going to end up as, like, a weaker version of Tenpai for the most part, because I don't think it's better than Tenpai cards were. And Tenpai was a concept I didn't really vibe with, but it's kind of whatever nowadays. It has been restricted enough. And I feel like Mikanko taking its place, I don't know how, because Mikanko I feel like Mikanko in general has more counterplay, even with these new cards. Like, equip spells are just, like, easier to deal with. You know, when they equip something to your side of the field, you can get rid of that monster. You can, like, use IP to link with it. You can fuse with it. You can dodge it with SP or whatever. Like, there's so many better interactions versus Mikanko cards than they are versus Tenpai cards. And so I just can't help but, like, I see the quality in these cards, but I really like the fact that they lock you into Mikanko, and I think Mikanko is just, like, more pleasant to play against than Tenpai, which is a crazy thing to say, because playing against Mikanko is not that pleasant, but, like, Tenpai is on another level of unpleasant. So yeah, we'll see how strong these are. I see some potential here. Maybe Mikanko takes Tenpai's place of, like, the going second deck in the game, but I think it would do so at a lower power level. We'll see. Huli is getting an alt art as well, but Huli is, like, the one that can sometimes be really cringe, because it's the one where it's like everything is untargetable, can't be destroyed by battle and stuff like that. So, and they can, like, reset up that loop over and over and over again depending on how things go. But yeah, no, it's I don't know how much that is going to be the win condition of the deck, though. I guess it depends on the format. Some formats decks have answers to it, some formats they don't. We'll see. But yeah, Mikanko cards. And then we have the new Dark Magician support, I believe, from the V-Jump magazine, Dark Magic Amulet, which is a trap card that they've announced a couple of days ago, but they hadn't dropped the effect yet, and now we do have the effect. Normal trap card. You can activate this card the turn it was set by revealing a spellcaster monster in your hand. Okay, very important sentence on a trap card. It's usable immediately. When a monster effect is activated, in response to the activation of a card that mentions Dark Magician or its effect, you can negate that effect, and if you do, for the rest of this turn, the activated effects of monsters with the same original name are negated. If you special summon Dark Magician while this card's in your grave, you can pay 2,500 life points to set this card. Neither of these effects are once per turn. If I'm reading, unless they have changed, unless they have mistranslated, but it seems like both of these are repeatedly usable, and it does not banish itself. It's kind of like Drill Beam. It's like a Dark Magician version of Drill Beam, but it's a lot weaker than Drill Beam. But yeah, I guess this does help your Dark Magician deck to play through. It's kind of like a Dark Magician called by the Grave, isn't it? It's like a dark magician called by the grave, but like it can also handle stuff on the field. Like when you're going second, you set it and you can play into your opponent's board. Like let's say, I mean, this is printed in the OCG first. Let's say you're playing into a board that has Appaloosa. You set it, you start playing. Your opponent uses Appaloosa, you chain this. It negates the Appaloosa. For the rest of the turn, they can't activate it. They can activate it, but it'd be negated. So it's a solid card, I think. It's a very interesting concept. You get it back for free. So if you can use it on your first turn to stop a hand trap, and then you get it back for free later, it is something you can use on the opponent's turn. The thing is, as soon as you know it's there, it's going to be a little bit harder to use, because then your opponent just might not respond to your Dark Magician effects. But, I mean, that's still valuable, right? If your opponent has to stop reacting, then it's also good. It stops Detonator for the whole turn, even if they eclipse it back. It does, but it doesn't negate the first one, right? Because, like, let's say your opponent has Detonator, you activate, what is the one that's the continuous spell that searches? The Dark Magic Circle, I think. And they chain Detonator on it. And then you chain the trap, then they can chain Detonator again to still pop the circle, right? But then after that, the Detonator is dead, yes. But it, like, against Detonator specifically, they would still get the first pop, basically. But yeah, no, this is it helps you play through hand traps. It helps you play into boards. I don't know how easily Dark Magician can search this card, because it does mention Dark Magician, so I'm sure there's ways to search it. It's neat. Amulet cannot negate Zeus if you can double Zeus. I mean, the thing with Zeus also is that it only stops monsters that are activated in response to your Dark Magician cards, right? So, with Zeus, they would just activate it in an open game state, and then you can't negate it, right? Like, or they activate it in response to something else. So it's not like that easy to use this on certain cards. But it helps a lot with hand traps, because cards like Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, and so on and so forth, they have to be used in response to your cards. Cards like Baron, like playing into boards, which is more relevant for OCG and Master Duel than it is for TCG. When you're talking cards like Appaloosa or Baron, right? You can out those with it, which is neat. So it's a pretty good card. Its installation, how often are you searching this over other engine pieces? I don't know about, like, I don't think that the main point is that the card is searchable. I think this is something that you would just play 3 copies of and you'd hope to draw it, because as soon as you search it, it becomes a little bit weaker because your opponent knows it's there. And you'd rather just have it as a way to play through your opponent's stuff, right? You can bluff it. You can also, it does have, it reminds me of the Malice traps in some ways, right? Because you set it before you start playing, and then your opponent has to think twice about using their interactions in a certain way, right? Like they have to think twice about, like, imperming your Magician's Rod or ashing your Dark Magic Circle or whatever it's called, right? So it kind of reminds me of those kind of cards. Which I guess does definitely help the Dark Magician deck. But I don't know Dark Magician well enough, like the deck, to really say whether this solves the problems that the deck has. If, like, Dark Magician had the major problem of, like, if a deck loses to Ash Blossom, for example, this would be the perfect fit for a deck. Like, if Ash Blossom is really good against Dark Magician, then you could just play this, right? But I don't know how much it changed. It's a good card, though. It's definitely a card that a lot of other decks would be very happy about. Okay. All right, before we hop into Master Duel, something I want to do today, is I want to take a look at some of the stuff that's been going on in the TCG at the moment, which means we're going to be recapping some of the biggest nationals that have happened in Europe. And just, I want to lead it to a more generic discussion about the current TCG format. Because I feel like it's a good time with Alliance Insight format basically being in full swing, right? Like Alliance Insight has been out for a while, tournaments have been happening, nationals have been happening, European national season is even coming to a close soon-ish. The two, like UK and Germany are two really big nationals that are still left, but like a lot of them have already happened, like French and Italian, which we're also going to take a look at today. And I just want to talk about, you know, is Alliance Insight format good? Is it bad? Because of course we are coming off the back of one of the best ban lists in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, in my opinion, still. But of course, Alliance Insight had some pretty powerful cards in it, and so I want to maybe like do a little resume before we get the next set, Duelist Advance, in a bit, and also we're gonna get Battles of Legends at some point in Europe. But I just want to talk about that. You know, is Alliance Insight format good, or is it bad? Is it okay? Where do we stand on it? So that's something we're gonna take a look at. And in order to do that, I think it's a good time to take a look at some of the tournament results from the recent weeks, starting with the two biggest nationals in Europe so far, which was French nationals and also Italian nationals. French nationals happening a week ago, and Italian nationals happening just this past weekend, yesterday and the day before. So in France, we saw a pretty Malice-dominated top cut, I would say. In top 8, we had 5 Malice decks. And then Mitsurugi was still a pretty big player in the tournament. I myself played French Nationals and ended up top 32 with pure Mitsurugi, which is a thing. But pure Mitsurugi overall, I think, is the less popular version of the deck. Like, for example, in this tournament, there was a lot more Raziel Mitsurugi than pure Mitsurugi. But of course, I mean, everyone knows Malice to be one of the biggest players in the current format. And then vice versa in Italian Nationals, actually, we don't have the entire top cut breakdown yet because they just happened, but for this one you actually have a completely different picture, which is interesting because in top 8 you have 0 Malice. Instead there is 4 Mitsurugi in top 8 here in Italy, and the first Malice deck is in top 16 here by Lorenzo Muselli. Other than that, I'm sure there's more Malice somewhere in top cut, but it's incomplete information at the moment. And we only know of 1 Malice even in top 16. The tournament was won by Memento here, which is pretty cool to see. But the big story of this tournament, I think, I followed the coverage a little bit over the course of the weekend, and Mitsurugi was a big deal at that tournament. But another thing was also the Heraldic Raziel, which we're going to take a look at in a second. Heraldic Raziel even going through to the full length of main decking Sales ban to counter Droll and Lockbird, because the deck is so ignorant when it doesn't get Drolled or Charmied that people were like, I'm just going to main deck outs to Droll and Lockbird, go first and beat them up. And that's a thing, right? And then we also had Danish Nationals happening over the course of the weekend, which had a lot of German participation here. I guess it is kind of close. And it actually was won by Eric with Horace Christian. So I'm going over these results just to showcase that we are not in a tier 0 format, and we are also not in actually a relatively diverse format where a lot of different decks can do well. Even though Raziel, Mitsurugi, and Malice take up majority of top cut spots at the moment, and also the most played decks in these tournaments are Malice and Raziel Mitsurugi. But there's a lot of different decks putting up results. You know, sometimes you have one tournament that is pretty dominated by Malice. Then you have another tournament where Malice is basically completely absent. You have different Mitsurugi variations doing well. You have Mermail doing well. You have Heraldic Raziel doing well. You have Memento winning a tournament here. Then you have Christian winning a tournament here. It's a relatively diverse format. And I think that is one factor that people find very enjoyable in Yu-Gi-Oh formats. But I have said in the past that I don't think diversity is the only thing to look at when you judge a format. Because even when there is multiple different decks, there is still a world where the play patterns of those decks are a little questionable or not as fun. And I'll talk about that, especially because I think one of the main critique points that people have for this format at the moment is that they find one card to be extremely dominant and extremely annoying to play against, and that card is obviously Droll Lockbird. Droll Lockbird is arguably one of the most popular cards in the format, and probably one of the most hated cards in the format as well. And another a set of cards that I personally don't feel as negatively towards, but people definitely do, is the Mole Charmies. And I mean, as much as I like the Mole Charmies, in terms of like, I think the Mole Charmies existing is fine. I think it sometimes becomes a little bit of a problem when you are forced to main deck like 6 or more Charmies, because otherwise you can't handle the decks in the format going second, because playing Charmies in your main deck introduces a lot of variance to your tournaments, because when you go first, sometimes you open multiple Charmies and it makes your hands a lot worse. And so in an ideal world, for me personally, I would like the Charmies to exist, but I would like the format to be balanced to a point where I can just side deck the Charmies for the really problematic decks. I don't have to main deck them. And this is not a format we're in right now. We are in a format where a couple of decks, even though their win rates and their representation are kind of balanced, the play patterns that they introduce to the game are pretty broken, actually. And I'm talking about, for example, Raziel Mitsurugi here. I'm talking about Malice, and I'm also talking about decks like Heraldic Raziel. This is I couldn't find the list from Italian Nationals yet because they just happened, but this is one from that won, I believe, a state championship. Oh no, it was second place at Swiss Nationals. This one doesn't have Salesban in it, but one of the more recent trends with this deck has been main decking Salesban, just to be able to go ahead and combo through Droll as consistently as possible. But basically, what you will find with a lot of these decks, like in this one, you will find 3 Fuba, 3 Perulia, 3 Droll and Lockbird, and so on and so forth. And so basically, the current format, also Atlantean Mermail is a thing in the current format, of course, and Memento also. Even though Memento is kind of I like Memento, but it still is very much a combo deck that tries to set up very, very, very powerful boards. Mermail, Memento, Heraldic Raziel, Malice, and Raziel Mitsurugi, in my opinion, and even Crystron, are all decks that are very, very combo heavy and very, very powerful. And essentially, if they go unanswered by Charmies or Droll and Lockbird, they will set up boards that most of the decks in the format cannot handle. This list even going to the full extent, and even main decking Thrust and Harpy's Featherstorm as an answer to getting Droll and Lockbirded or Charmied, where you just thrust for Featherstorm to skip your opponent's turn back. We also have seen, I don't know if there's any decks here that have this this technology, but over the course of the weekend, we also saw a lot of decks using Protoss and Eschatos with Infernal Flame Banshee to search Nemesis Flag and then get into those kind of cards. So it is on the cover, I think this is a very diverse format. But if you the deeper you look, you will find a lot of decks that have basically very much the same flavor of trying to auto win on the first turn. Raziel Mitsurugi, as much as I am a fan of Raziel individually and Mitsurugi individually, I feel like this deck, this pairing of engines, is something that is a little bit problematic because it produces a deck that is, I think, too powerful. And I think in general, Star Raziel, as powerful of a card as it is, I don't like the fact that this card exists because I think it takes away something very, very important from Raziel, which I always thought was very important for the deck's balance, which was a choke point. When Star Raziel didn't exist, you could very easily hold your Ash or your Ghost Ogre or whatever for the duo drive. You no longer can do that. Because if your opponent starts with Ice Raziel, they can summon Star Raziel and they will have cross before they make duo drive. And so basically the whole point of holding, let's say you have Ash Nibiru or something, you can no longer prevent the cross from happening with just Ash Blossom. You just have to gamble on the first Raziel and hope they don't have a second one. Like if they normal summon Ice and you have Ash Blossom, I do think now in this format, it is correct to just Ash it. Because otherwise they will have cross anyways. And And so like it removes the choke point from Ryzeal, and as a result, I think these Ryzeal hybrid decks are definitely too powerful for my liking and a little bit too over the top. As well as, of course, Ignister Malice, even though it is not a tier 0 threat, I think is still kind of the same play pattern where you make a board that your opponent can play into the Malice board, but you're always going to win because your follow-up is just so crazy. And you do have a very high amount of disruptions with this deck. And Heraldic Ryzeal is just another thing, right? Like it plays Star, it plays Cross, so it's very hard to hand trap with anything that isn't a Floodgate hand trap, basically. Anything that isn't Droll or one of the Charmies, like Lingering, is going to be very mediocre. And we see this trend a lot in current decks. We see the numbers of Effect Veilers, the numbers of Imperms, the numbers of Inibirus. Like, those cards are getting taken out of decks over and over. Like, more and more people are taking those cards out of their decks because they feel like the quality of those cards is just like not really there, right? They just lose quality so much because most decks play through those cards like it's nothing with one extender. So yeah, and then of course, I mean, decks like Mermail, we don't even have to talk about why this deck is a problem. I mean, you see here, Barrier Statue, Minstrel, Mooling Glacia, all the good stuff. Mermail, even with the Bahamut Shark and the Abyss Dweller ban, is still a very obnoxious deck to deal with and very hard to play into if you don't have a Charmy or a Droll and Lockbird. So basically, 4 decks in the format right now that have very similar play patterns, in my opinion, make it, I think, less diverse in reality than it is on paper. Now, I will say one thing. The existence of Molcharmy Fuvalos, Molcharmy Perulia, and Droll and Lockbird makes it so that there is counterplay to these decks. Now, I have experienced this because I was wondering about this when I thought about it after French Nationals, because I genuinely had a good time playing French Nationals. Because I did something that for me kind of just, it was an approach that worked, because I played pure Mitsurugi. This is my list. I main decked Fuva, Perulia, and Droll and Lockbird because I realized I need those to win going second. And what I encountered was a format where my deck is not that weak to the Charmies with pure Mitsurugi, but I have all the tools I need to win going second. And it just made it so I very rarely had to sit through those full combos because I played all the answers to these decks. Now, here's the question. Is a format good if you have to draw a Charmy or a Droll and Lockbird going second against a lot of the top decks in the format? Because your chances at drawing one of these cards, is if you main deck all 9, is pretty high. Very often you do play real Yu-Gi-Oh in this format, but it still is not optimal. I think the way I feel about it is like it's somewhere in the middle, because it could be a lot better. We could be living in a world where these cards are not even necessary in your main deck because the popular decks are like a little bit fairer. But we could also live in a world where these decks exist and there's no counterplay, because there is a lot of counterplay at the moment. The problem is it is always tied to variance. It is tied to playing those 9 in your main deck, and it is tied to seeing one of those when you're going second. And the thing is, what I experienced is that every time I drew one of those cards, or maybe even 2, my games going second were actually pretty good games, because the Charmies and Droll, against most of the top tier decks, they don't stop them from playing completely. They do still do some stuff like Detonator Pass and have their own non-engine next to it. And most of the time playing into those kind of boards ended up in like pretty good games for me. So I don't feel like the current format is bad. I just feel like we do need to do something about the power level of some of these combos still, right? I think specifically Ryzeal is something that when people were playing mostly pure Ryzeal, I think it was fine. But as soon as people start throwing multiple engines into the deck, because the deck has very, like, not great restrictions, like it just becomes a little weird. Like when maybe the mono Ryzeal combo is something you can handle. If it's like Detonator Cross, maybe you can play into it. But when it's Detonator Cross, plus the full Mitsurugi combo plus follow-up. So like basically you have to discard a card, you get ragequitted, plus they have all the Ryzeal stuff. All of a sudden it becomes unbreakable. Malice is really hard to break as well if they set up fully, because you basically have to kill them, which is not very easy. Then you have Heraldic Ryzeal, which is probably the most outrageous example of this, which is like, it's like the most auto-lose deck into Droll and the Charmies you can play in the current format. But if you don't get Drolled or Charmied, you completely take apart everything. Like, this deck does it all. This deck makes so many rank 4s. It's not even funny. Like, you can hand loop your opponent twice with Ouroboros and Eclipse Twin reviving Ouroboros. You can set up like Detonator Cross. This even plays Plasma Hole for more disruption. Like, this deck is in all intents and purposes an auto win deck on the first turn, and so is Mermail, right? And so like, this is where Yu-Gi-Oh is at the moment. I feel like it is still a lot better than last year. But Alliance Inside format is not perfect, and that's kind of where I want to go with this discussion. Is like, basically now we have problems in the format, but we also have answers. But the thing is, you need to draw those answers. If you don't draw those answers, the gameplay is pretty mid. Like, I saw this on Italian national streams where, you know, there was Mermail, I think, made it all the way to top 4, and like, yeah, there was a matchup where it was Heraldic Ryzeal versus Atlantean Mermail. And it's like, bro, like, at this point, you are just rolling a dice to see who goes first, and then you're rolling another dice to see whether you have Droll or the Charmies in hand. And if you don't have those, then whoever wins the dice roll just wins against everything else. So, yeah. Ban Droll. See, Droll and Lockbird. I will say, right now, I don't think you can just ban Droll and Lockbird and call it a day, because at the moment, I am glad Droll and Lockbird exists as an answer to these decks. I'm not saying Droll and Lockbird is a healthy card, but at the moment, I think the format would be a lot worse if you just, every time you go second, you never have Droll, and then you always get full comboed by Ryzeal, Mitsurugi, Heraldic Ryzeal, Malice, and Mermail. So like, yes, Droll is an indicator of the current format not being great, but they should probably get rid of those decks as well if they want to get rid of Droll. Like, at the moment, I hate this argument, but at the moment, Droll and Lockbird is a necessary evil for this format. If they want to get rid of Droll and Lockbird, they have to get better, or they have to balance some of the things that are happening at the moment. Mainly with Ryzeal Ryzeal is the main thing that's currently making people play Droll and Lockbird, I think. Because against pure Mitsurugi, Droll and Lockbird isn't even that crazy. At least from that was one of the reasons why I played it. Droll is good against it, but it's not as bad if you if you have like 2 Ryzeal cards in your hand, or like friggin' 7th Tachyon, or even 7th Ascension. Droll and Lockbird hits you a lot harder than when you're playing pure Mitsurugi. So yeah, it's like Droll and Lockbird and these decks kind of go hand in hand. Like, if people weren't playing such crazy combo decks right now, then people wouldn't be main decking Droll and Lockbird, but people are playing those crazy combo decks, so people obviously are playing Droll and Lockbird. It's yeah, I like the way you put it. Droll isn't the problem. Droll being necessary is the problem. That is the way I put it. Because that is exactly the way I feel about the Charmies. I don't think Charmies are badly designed Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I think the fact that people are main decking 6 Charmies right now is crazy. Because that tells you a lot about the power level of the decks in the format. Because I don't want to play Charmies in my main deck, because they are designed mostly, like, I mean, they are the ideal side deck cards, because you want them in your deck going second. You want them in your deck when your opponent is playing a deck that's really weak to it. You don't want to draw Molcharmi, Perulia, and Fubalos when you're going first. It doesn't feel great that I have to put these cards into my main deck. Now, granted, if I put those 6 cards into my main deck, my experience at the French Nationals was completely fine. I was actually enjoying the tournament because I didn't get full comboed on a lot of the time. I was just, my deck was prepared. You know, I played basically Fuva, Purulia, and Duel are like the cards that say, if you draw these cards going second, it makes the game enjoyable, right? And so like, that's a good thing. It's good for games to be enjoyable. And by enjoyable, I mean that they are actually good games. They don't are like, I activate Fuva and my opponent just dies immediately. No, I activate Fuva or Purulia, my opponent still makes a board in this format. You know, Malice still makes half boards. Raziel Mitsurugi makes half boards. Pure Mitsurugi makes half. They all make half boards under Charmies. The game is not over when you Charmy them. But the argument is basically, I would rather not have to rely on drawing those cards to make the game playable. I would like the game to be playable from the get-go. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. And this is kind of, I guess, a segue to talk about what is about to happen soon, because I mean, this format is the way it is, but like, we're gonna have to look forward to what's about to happen. And I guess the best place to look for that is what it's looking like in the OCG at the moment. Except for Mitsurugi, they don't have Mitsurugi over there, which, to be fair, Mitsurugi changes a lot about the current format. But one, like, because this entire discussion, it kind of begs the question of the position of hand traps in modern Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, what is it with hand traps in modern Yu-Gi-Oh? Where I feel like a lot of decks are inclined to play those sort of hand traps. Like even here in the Heraldic Raziel, for example, we see the 6 Charmies and the Droll. We still see Ghost Spell, Imperm, Nib, and Ash. I mean, Ash mostly as an answer to Charmies, but like Ghost Spell, Imperm, people are still inclined to play some hand traps. People want to play some answers to your opponent's combos, but these cards just don't feel ideal, but you also don't feel comfortable moving them out of your deck completely, right? And so it kind of begs the question, like, where are we headed with Yu-Gi-Oh! And hand traps? Because it doesn't quite work when the quality of hand traps declines so much in recent formats that, like, you know, you just don't have any available answers, because some of these modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks, like Heraldic Raziel, cannot get properly hand trapped except by Charmies and Droll, and you cannot board break it. You cannot. So what's the solution? You know, what's the solution? Do you just make more and better hand traps? Do you make more floodgate hand traps? I don't think that can be it. And currently the approach in the OCG seems to be that a lot of the top tier decks here, for example, Vanquish Soul K9, relies on more in-engine heavy hand, like basically ways to interact with your opponent. Like this deck over here, from the modern standpoint, it plays 3 Fuva, 3 Ash, 2 Maxi, which wouldn't be legal in the TCG, 1 Shifter, and then 1 Phantasme, which I don't think counts as a hand trap, because it just draws cards. It doesn't interrupt anything. So this is 9 hand traps in the best deck in the OCG right now. So how is this possible, right? Like how is a deck with 9 hand traps competing in current OCG when the power level of the OCG is arguably a lot higher than the TCG, because they still have Appaloosa, they have Baron, and so on and so forth. They have like crazy it's crazy work, basically. So the way this works is they have basically made more cards that are basically in-engine hand traps, right? Like the K9 cards, even though it is its own archetype, they function as hand traps, as well as the new K9 monster, which lets you special summon if you have the right attributes in your hand, you can just special summon it from your hand on the opponent's turn, and then you can summon a Vanquish Soul from your deck, which means you can special Raisin into the column where you want to destroy something, and so on and so forth. So this deck operates more on basically hand traps that are like, it's kind of like more Tierleman's Havness is the way you're putting it in chat right now, which is it's kind of accurate. It is kind of accurate where you kind of operate more with your engine on the opponent's turn, which I think is a good approach, because those cards, unlike certain hand traps, they will not clog your hands when you're going first, right? Like I would rather have cards that are in my engine that I can use going first or second over cards that are basically just one purpose, right? Like an infinite impermanence in your deck has one purpose, just one purpose. And if you draw that infinite impermanence going first, it does not add anything to your playability of your hand, right? If your hand's a brick because you've drawn 2 imperms and an Ash Blossom, can't really do much about it. You're just going to set your imperms and pass or keep it in hand. I don't know. But like, essentially, this is an approach that they are doing in the OCG right now. I think some other decks are doing it too. Yummy, not really. But, okay, there's no other lists here. But some other decks definitely do this as well. And so that is I think interesting. It's an interesting approach to modern Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think it would be a way to get away from this. But in general, I think one of the most obvious solutions to this, 100%, is just we need some balancing on some of these archetypes, right? Like, I mean, this deck, Ryziel Mitsurugi, as much as I love Mitsurugi and as much as I like pure Ryziel, or I liked pure Ryziel before Star came out, this deck does too much. This deck does too much. This deck does too much, and this deck also does too much. I mean, this deck also arguably does too much. So that's the thing, right? So even though the most recent ban list did a lot of things in the right direction, I think there's still a couple of cards, and like, I think that aside, besides the decks doing too much, I also think there's a couple of individual cards that are causing a lot of problems because they are legal. And we're looking at one right now, and that's Harpy's Featherstorm, right? Like this package of, oh, there's counterplay to my Ryziel Mitsurugi deck in the form of Purulia or Drolan Lockbird. Okay, let me just go thrust for Featherstorm and skip your entire turn so I can play next turn uninterrupted when those cards wear off. Another card, Arch Nemesis Protoss. I don't really have a list right here that plays it, but I saw it a lot over the weekend at Italian Nationals. A lot of different decks were doing the rank 4 Banshee into Protoss kind of thing. And so those kind of cards existing also don't help. So in some ways, this format reminds me of it reminds me a little bit of 2022 Nationals format, where there was a lot of different decks like Branded or Sword Soul or adventure stuff, DPE, whatever. But if you really looked closely, it was like all of those decks were just trying to find their way of floodgating the opponent, right? Like, it was like, okay, this deck Artifact Scythe, this deck also Artifact Scythe, this deck, even Sword Soul, which is one of the most fair archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. The main advantage of playing Sword Soul was that it could play a lot of floodgates for going first after siding, and it was drawing a lot of cards because it played like Desires and drew with Moyi and stuff like that. And you just like make your combo, you're really, and it also played Protoss, true. So it's kind of like that format, which was very diverse, but I still didn't like it. It is that format, but better, because that format had like no equivalent of the Charmies, which I do think the Charmies make this format better at the moment. I really do think so. I think without the Charmies, I think this format would be unbearable, because going second, you would basically always lose if you didn't have the Charmies. And Droll to an extent, but I don't want to speak too positive about Droll because I don't like that card that much. But it's basically like 2022 format, but with Charmies that make it a little bit more playable for the player going second. And Charmies also, I like the fact that Charmies promote some strategies that are not that crazy when they go first. Like, for example, I don't know, Emre's Blue Eyes deck he took to top 8 at French Nationals, or the pure Mitsurugi deck that I played. Like, both decks that are like lower ceiling, but because everyone is playing Charmies, they get a little bit better in the format, because they don't. It's a legit advantage right now if your deck does not care about Charmies. That's like a good thing for a deck in the current format. And so, yeah, this is kind of like how I see it. It's kind of like 2022 Nationals format, but the Charmies to help it a little bit, which is still not. It's still not ideal. I still think it could be a lot better, which is ultimately the point of this discussion. I want to make these points. I want to acknowledge the things that have gotten better about the game, Because, I mean, still, if you ask me, would you rather play this format or would you play Snake Eye Tenpai format? I would pick this format 100 out of 100 times. It is a lot better because a lot more games are playable and enjoyable because of the Charmies. But still, I'm not happy with the fact that it's basically like when you go second this format, step 1 is draw, Charmy, or draw, which you have an overwhelming, like you have a pretty good percentage of drawing those cards when you play all 9. But I think it shows that there's some problems still when it's required to draw those cards, is how I feel. This format or Master Duel format, bro, it's always this format. It's always this format, of course. Like, genuinely, I think this format is fine. I actually don't hate it. I had a good time at French Nationals, but I still acknowledge that there's problems with it. MD format is goated. I don't know. I still get max seeded a lot when I play Master Duel, so I don't know how goated it can really be. I don't hate current Master Duel format, but I also think it's not ideal. Well, yeah, speaking of which, that is what we're hopping in next, because I'm in the middle of course, Worlds qualifier preparation, which is happening on the weekend. And, I mean, it's getting closer and closer, so gonna have to get ready for it. Have you decided on streaming it yet? I am currently leaning towards not streaming it because I want to kind of get max comfort and max focus, but we'll see. All right, I'm currently in Master 3. I've been playing a little bit over the course of the weekend. I've been trying to learn Memento. Because, I mean, I have uploaded a Master Duel tier list. If you haven't seen that one yet, you can go check it out, !YouTube. But I've been messing around with some decks over the course of the weekend just to figure out kind of like what the options are. I think Memento is a deck that I kind of want to learn it a little bit more just to see if it is an option for me, because I feel like if I don't play this deck well, it's not worth playing. But if I do play it well, then I think it would be a real option because it seems better into Molcharmi Fuvalos than other decks. I do think Branded is also an option. I have a Branded list here, but I am not so sure how well I can play Branded. I have a 60 card version. We can mess around with it a little bit today. Yeah. We can mess around with it a little bit. I don't think I'm bad at playing Branded. I also don't think I'm good at playing Branded. But yeah, it's like it's Branded, Memento, Fiendsmith Control. I'm still considering. I am also just considering Millennium Snake Eye Fiendsmith because I feel like this deck is still, I mean, it's broken. This is probably the best deck to roll itself under Max C. So like this deck has, I think, the most outs to Max C in the game right now. So yeah, I think the goal for this week's streams is just to play as much Master Duel as possible. Maybe, I mean, we can probably get to Master 1 quick, and then try to rank just to get some practice with all these decks. What about Fire Kings? I don't think pure Fire King is consistent enough for 72 hours. This hand is a little odd. It does play, but see, now I have to call by the Ash, and then I disable my own Ash. Kind of sucks. If they have Maxi, I hope they chain it now. Nice. Okay. Woo. Welcome to Master Duel, everybody. In case anyone wondered why Master Duel format can never be better than TCG format, like for real, this interaction is why. Because every game has a mini game before you play the game. Okay, so Just Goblin normally goes for, I believe, Gatic plus Fusion. But because I already have Fusion, I can go Gatic plus Sleepy, I think. I'm still like, I'm still in a state where I kind of freestyle Memento combos. So it's like a mixture of, I know what I'm doing, but I also don't really. Horse? I don't know if Horse does any. Oh, they have more. Ooh, a Bisteel probably. Bro, you draw Ash Maxi Bisteel, it's crazy. Witch would have been good as well, but I normal summoned already. What's the point of Witch? Do you go for the Smasher Xyz? Okay, so I have Paradise Smasher in my extra deck. But I have not unlocked the combos for it yet. I don't really know how don't really know how it works. Gatic into Bone Party was also something. Yeah. I mean, we're gonna be reviving just with the Twin Dragon. We're gonna just revive the Sleepy, I think. Then I don't play Trihorn, no. Maybe I should. At this. Revive this. Then we're gonna activate Fusion. Smasher is the most win-more option of all time. I don't think so. I think in theory it makes sense. Because you some games you really notice your opponent is like playing no hand traps, right? Like branded 60 cards or Power Spell Tenpai. There is definitely an argument to go for the Smasher. I think it's a genuine option. The only problem that I have is I don't know how to make it. Well, I know how to make it. I know you need like 3 level 5s. And it's I kind of know how to do it, but not really. Should I pop this? If I pop this, I get a send. Let's pop this. Bone Party. Definitely this. Do I want to revive Gatic to make Sprite Elf? I think let's go for a Sprite Elf line here. And then Chainlink 3, Sleepy. Okay, there is a Bisteel onto the Gatic. Okay, so I can't revive now. That's fine, whatever. Okay. They're playing 40 cards with Serenir, so it's probably Fiendsmith Bestial, I would say. Wait, I can just send it. Alright, so I sent Mace. So I still revive. Yeah, okay. Easy clap. Do I want to search with Mace though? I kind of have everything I need already. I don't feel like I need to search. So like this is where I could make Paradise Smasher, because I can special Tatsuno, I can Bone Party to summon another Tatsuno, and then I can smash her. I could, but then I don't get the add back from Akihiron as well. That's always the thing that has basically, like, that's why I haven't gone for it, because I haven't found a line. Well, I mean, I'll go for it. I'll do some nasty. Hold up, where is it? I also had one game where I did, like, the first time I used Paradise Smasher in my games, I did it wrong. And then my opponent still thought they were locked, and they surrendered, even though I didn't. I locked myself with it. Oh, that's very high. Okay, nice. Yes. Wait, what did I click? No! Wait, why is the die blue? Oh my god, it's so confusing. I need to change their 3 into a 7. Yeah, okay. Jesus Christ. This card confuses me on Master Duel, I'm not gonna lie. It threw me off so much that the dice was blue all of a sudden. Jesus Christ, that was scary. Okay, so they are locked now. So, I mean, I will say in this particular instance, it's probably not necessary to use Paradise Smasher because, I mean, realistically, we would have probably won against 3 cards with the normal combo, but I just wanted to see how to do it. But you do make a significantly worse end board by doing this, because you don't get the add back from Akihiron, so you don't have fusion. It is a lot weaker. It really is a lot weaker. Brandon! We never gamble with Smasher? I don't think you gamble with Smasher, no. I don't think you should. If they make Typhon now... I don't know, I have nothing to be afraid of. I'll just pop the Larry. Do I care about Regained? Sure, pop Regained too. Why does Smasher need 3 materials? You can make it with 2, but then you cannot control the dice in any way. If you make it with 2, that's by the way, that was my first Paradise Smasher. I just made it with 2 level 5s because I didn't know you need to make it with 3. And then I just won the coin flip randomly. And then the second time I made Paradise Smasher yesterday, I did it with 3 materials, but I didn't know that your opponent's result has to be higher I thought you had to win the dice roll, basically. So I changed my own dice to be bigger than theirs. And then I locked myself. Gonna do it fast because I'm low on time. I will say, when I'm not talking to chat, when I was playing this deck off stream, I didn't have timer problems. I didn't play perfectly all the time, but the timer was not an issue. Disrespecting Gorse. I actually beat Gorse there. Because I can Sleepy Fuse in battle phase into combined creation. I can just pop Gorse in the token. Okay, sick. Another thing that I was thinking about, because when I was playing ranked, I did play against a decent amount of like stun, Kashtira and stuff mainly. So what I thought about was like, this deck actually has outs to floodgates, right? Because Darkblade can pop spell traps. And you can Chimera fuse into Guardian Chimera. You can not Chimera. You can Mento fuse into Guardian Chimera. So like that is a nice little bonus for this deck. A Rysard is a problem, but a Rysard beats all the decks. Right? They have more. Ooh, Dominus Impulse. Okay. Sure. Can't dodge that with Bone Party. So, Impulse Ash. No more Nib. No more Nib. So, let's party. Destroy this. Or... Mace. Maybe Akihiron here. Because I'm going to search a fusion with Maze. This is the point where I have to freestyle a little bit because not the standard combo anymore. So they play Impulse in 40 cards, so it could be it's Mermail or Tenpai. So I am kind of inclined to try and go for the Paradise Smasher again. But how do I do that here? I guess I need another horse. But I'm not sending Gaddick. Have I used this yet? No, I can't. I'm not going through Gaddick. Oh, hold up. Goblin. Yeah, like this. Yeah, I need another horse engrave and revive that with the field spell. Hold up. Like this. And now I'm going to use this to bring back my goblin. Here. Here. This. And the other horse. Gaddick. Gaddick. I can add back Bone Party. Then I use this. For another fusion. This. Specials this. Here. Detach 2. Wait, I rolled a 10, they rolled... Yeah, okay, I need to use it. Opponent's side, change the 1 into a 7. Easy clap. Good bite. Alright, chat, was it Tenpai or Mermail? I'm saying it was Tenpai. It was Mermail. Okay. Yeah, but like, this is the thing, right? These matchups, you can actually lose even with, like, without the Paradise Smasher. Like, you can use those. You can lose those matchups, dude. I mean, it's not a well-designed card, bro. But it does win me these games. Imperm. I think chaining Bone Party to this is good. Yeah, I think chaining Bone Party to this is good. That's fucked up. Okay. So you draw 2 cards from that. Oh, man. So... Oh, I don't have to special, right? I don't have to special. Okay, but then why did I add Akihiron? Why did I add Akihiron? Well, I guess they got no draws. No, it's cringe eyes, man. I don't actually hate blue eyes, it's fine. No, if this was a real follow-up card, I wouldn't even feel so bad about my chances here. Dude, they had Magnamut as well. Jesus Christ. Why is Magnamut the worst card in your hand? What the hell? How? You have to have Asher called by, right? No, they have to have it. They didn't. Okay. All right. Well, maybe if we can draw into some. I mean, now we need some luck. I also should have activated Miklan. I'm throwing. I definitely threw because if I go Miklan and set Bone Party, the Akihiron in hand isn't even bad if I have Bone Party. Okay, called by is good. They have Valor. Oh, no sets. Okay, well, that's probably another Maxi or something. Okay, let's go. No problem. All right. Well, had I reset my Bone Party last turn, I would definitely win this turn. Now I have to, like, see. I just lose to this, right? Because if I go ahead and I send... Oh, we'll see. You can chain block with the field? No, I can't. Man, if I messed this up for sure. If I had Bone Party here, I win all the time. That was my bad. Are you tagging into Lightstorm Dragon or what? This is still winnable? Yeah, it is. It is winnable still. But it's not looking great. Because I probably die next turn. No, I die. But I do win that if I reset the Bone Party turn 1. Or if I don't add Akihiron. Because I didn't really think about adding it. I didn't think about adding with Bone Party to avoid the Maxi. And then, yeah. No. Why didn't you hold called by? Yeah, I wasn't sure they were tagging out. But I guess with Lightstorm in consideration, they probably always tag out there. All right, we got one combo. I think we accept the Fuba here. Now, that's another thing. I do need to practice my lines under Fuba. Because I'm not super well versed in those. So they get one draw here. Hopefully that's the only one I'm going to have to give. So I'm going to want this. This and this, I'm thinking. Then fusion, banish, or goblin. Language, bring back goblin, send. Can't you just make a better board if you used roll? In this instance, I don't think that is that good. Duck Never Goose, thank you for the gifty. I appreciate you. So we want this. Fusion is gonna add Bone Party. I'm not gonna use Bone Party though. Or Fusion just adds another Fusion and I reset Bone Party. Do I have enough names? Probably. Just add this. I can't activate this Bone Party, just to add. Because it's a free reset anyways in the end phase. And then Goblin back, this back, this back, this back. And I kind of like keeping Darkblade engraved sometimes to pop a spell trap on the opponent's turn. Because I don't really need Anguish, do I? Because I already have Mace. I can just special Anguish with Bone Party as well. I can also special Darkblade with Bone Party. Both fine. So this is why I didn't Ash the Fuva, because if they have a Maxi behind it, like I can, it's not full combo, but it's still pretty good for one draw. This is why this deck is good. It's like legit good into Fuva. It can start becoming a problem when your opponent has Fuva with more hand traps after. End of the main phase. Okay. Play evenly? They do. Okay. Sure. That's bad. All right, well, gonna have to keep the... I mean, we still have sick follow-up, Ash and Droll, and this. So, no, not yet. What is this, stun? Lab? Okay, well. I mean, yeah, stun could be a problem. The absolute state of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel right now, man. Goodbye, dude. That's why I like Darkblade, man. That's why I like Darkblade, because it's good against cringe shit. Yeah, dude. Oh my god, it's so disgusting. 2 evenlies as well. Control is cringe. No, nothing about that is control. If you think that's control, you are beyond saving. There's a difference between controlling your opponent and telling your opponent not to play the game. Those are not the same thing. Oh my god, 2 Fuvas. Nice. This deck should be so good into Imperm most of the time, but then there's hands like this. Yep. I wish Fuva wasn't necessary right now, but I feel like with Snake Eye, you probably have to main deck Fuva, but it's like so bad into some of the other decks. Like Fuva is so bad into Blue Eyes. Fuva is also so bad into Tenpai. But I'm just too scared of Snake Eyes, I feel like. See, this hand has like 4 ways to beat hand traps, but it goes second. What is this? 60 cards? 60 card Nateria. Okay. Nateria Horus? My hand is not great into Nat Beast, if that's what they make. I mean, it still plays into Nat Beast, but... Oh, King Sark as well, okay. Why play 40 cards when you can just draw like that in 60? Oh, man. These are the type of decks that you play when you pride yourself on not being a meta sheep, but this is just Snake Eye in worse. It's just worse Snake Eye, dude. You're trying to do the same thing as Snake Eyes, but you're not as good at it. And that is unfortunately the truth. Faith, thank you for the 17 months. Also, Globster Prime, thank you for the 2 months. Is Primate Cyframe good enough for stage 2? Not if you're trying to qualify for Worlds, I don't think, unfortunately. The deck's very fun, but I don't think it does that. These type of games, I think, is just something that you just can't get mad about if you're playing the second stage, right? Because there's just gonna be games where you draw double Fuva, but you go first. And then the next game, you draw a cracked hand for going first, but your opponent goes first with like a 60-card crazy combo pile. That is just Master Duel right now. I feel like if I get mad at this sort of stuff, then I'm doomed from the beginning. Nice. Step 5, acceptance. I mean, yeah, but what choice do I have? I'm not the biggest fan of the current Master Duel format. I have 2 options. I either deal with it or I just don't play the qualifier, but I don't want to skip the qualifier. So I'm gonna find ways to accept it. With this hand, it's definitely this. But I don't know if I like Sleepy under Fuva. I don't know if I love Sleepy under Fuva. What if it's Anguish? And then I add Anguish and that adds Sleepy. Let me try that. Because like, I don't really have to do too much with this hand. Because I already have all the spell traps. All I need to do is find access to Creation King. Combined Creation. Ash on Anguish. Ash on Anguish. Ash on Anguish. Let me call by that. I can still Creation King with the fusion, but I think it's better if I do it this way. Because if I do it with fusion spell, I don't have enough memento names in rotation. Because I don't have the sheep, and I also have to shuffle back the Tatsuno, so I don't have enough to summon the king, the combined creation. Right. I have a Creation King engraved now, but that was properly summoned, so I think I'll do this. I'll add Mace already, and maybe Goblin too. Maybe Mace Goblin is nice. Let's get Mace Goblin. Paradise time? No. No, I don't think so. Well, Fuva, Imper, Maxi, and Ash. I guess it's okay that we get to this point. Ubel. Ubel. Okay. It'd be the most cringe decks out there that draw like that. It'd really be the most cringe decks. But what if I take their Ubel? Isn't that kind of sick? Ah. I can dodge that. I can dodge that. Give it. Yay, explosions. No! They're taking their U-Bell back. Shit. Okay, they still have a normal summon. It's actually, this is still, they might still win this, dude. Oh my god, dude, your hand is so insane, man. Bro, your hand was Maxi, Fuva, Imper, Maxi, Ash, Called by Drolan Lockbird, Nibiru, Nightmare Throne, Dark Beckoning Beast, and Samsara Reloaded. This is completely insane. I think I die. I think I die. If this goes Fiendsmith, I die. Yeah, I'm dead. How am I supposed to win that shit? Oh yeah, they just negate Sleepy with the Phantom. Oh man. Droll is bad right now. Droll and Fuva don't feel good at the moment to play, but it feels like in a deck like this, you have very limited room for non-engine, and I don't know if like any other non-engine would cut it. Like Droplet also doesn't really feel that good. Super Poly. It's like fine in this deck, but I don't know if it's consistent enough. Oh, Heart Drop Brand Fusion anyways, cool. Sick. I love that that this happens so much more often now, that they just have Brand Fusion in hand. I like that so much. They can get it with the Albion anyways? No, they can't, because they're under Droll. They can't use the Albion to send from deck for cost, because it requires being able to draw a card. They can do it now that it's in Graveyard, but they couldn't do it with the cards we knew. I played Droll just to droll myself when I get max seed. That was my idea with this deck as well. I'm not sure how good that is in Memento, but you can do it. Well, I don't think I can beat this. I mean, my hand is good. I have normal summon, and I have Tatsu, and I have 2 spells, but I don't think I can beat this. I don't think I can beat this because they have branded in red, probably banishment as well, or retribution. Yeah, I don't know. These last few games don't make a very good case for Memento. That's, I think, where you need to work on your ability to evaluate games. Because if you think any other deck realistically wins that last game against Yubel, then I think you're completely tripping. Some games in Master Duel are just not winnable based on just the non-engine that people draw and based on whether they go first or second. Like we almost won against Yubel after they've drawn like Fuva, Maxi. I mean, look, like which deck do you want me to play to beat this? Because my deck already plays Ash Blossom, and I just didn't have Ash Blossom for the branded fusion. What do you want me to play to win this game? Like, tell me the deck that wins this, and I'll play it. But there is none. I don't win that game with Droplet. I don't win that game with Super Poly. It doesn't matter. And that is the issue I have with Master Duel, is that there's too many of these games where it's not decided by who's better or what deck you play. Okay, that's either their only hand trap or they had a lot of options there to consider. Okay, no Maxi at least. Yeah, I don't have a play next turn. I can get Miklan, I can reset. I can get both copies of the spells, but I don't have a monster to pop. So I guess it's just try to go for a follow-up and hope I survive, even though the chances are pretty slim. Ooh, that took a long time of thinking before activating the best card in their deck. That's crazy. I guess Blue Eyes is like a deck that might not kill me. If they don't have Sage. Okay. I think that seals pass. Or no seals. Okay, they want the drill beam to be live immediately. Sure. Okay. I mean, normal summon Gatic is not the worst here. It's actually not the worst. Because if I normal summon Gatic, it makes my fusion live to be able to respond. Let me get the horse. What is this game today, man? Shut up. Ah, fuck. I have to try and kill him. One. They chain it now on this. Oh, fuck. Oh god, I don't have time. If they have nib, I die. I have it if they don't have nib. But if they have nib. Goblin effect. Goblin doesn't really do anything because they just chain it to it. I'm just gonna let him banish it, then destroy my Akihiron and add it back to my hand. And then summon it and go battle phase. If they don't have nib, that's good. But I can't make Apple because Elf can't be used as link material. There was no nib. They never had a chance to begin with. What the hell happened before this? Christ. Alright, it's my time with Max C. Surely it's not getting negated. Why do I have 3 normal summons in hand? Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Please. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. I'm gonna see for a second what they do, because the way they played this was a little bit weird, because they didn't have another Dragoons. But, I don't know. I probably just lose. They probably play Coelacanth the way they played this. Yeah. So in these instances, I never know if I should chain Bone Party, because chaining Bone Party makes it better into a second Imperm. If I chain Bone Party here, I summon Sleepy, pop the Sleepy. I think chaining Bone Party is good. Because then I think I beat a second Imperm. But is it Sleepy or Akihiron? Don't summon Sleepy, use Witch to get sleep. Bro, if I chain, I have to destroy the monster I'm summoning. But I think it's Sleepy. So we're gonna send Gatic. And we're gonna send Fusion. Then we go Chainlink 1 Gatic. Chainlink 2 Sleepy to send. Get Akihiron engrave. Special Gatic. Gatic for Fusion or Sleepy? They're both kind of nice here. Maybe it's Sleepy first. Go Sleepy. Sleepy loses to Imperm, Veiler, Ogre. No, I still have Fusion engrave to pop to grab a spell. Grab this. This is where playing, what's it called? Playing Horned Dragon would be nice. It makes the Twin Dragon lines a lot better. I can go for Paradise Smasher here, but then my lines are a little awkward. I'm not gonna go for it with this hand, I think. And enemies just snipe you when they see verified. I mean, they could, but I don't care enough about rank to try and prevent that. So if I was a coward, I would make SP here. But since I'm not a coward, I think I'm gonna make IP. Because I don't know if they're a toggle god, but I think they don't have it. Okay. See if I can keep. Can I keep Gaddock in the grave to revive it with Elf? No. Why 3 Creation King? I ran into some Kashtira games where they banished 1 or 2 of them and I needed them to out floodgates. You don't have to play 3. But that's I didn't really need much of my extra deck. $5 billion interruption. It is 5 billion interruptions. It is true. I don't know what you're doing there. So that's basically, I like the Memento deck, but like I've been having this problem where the win rate isn't much higher than 50%, but I feel like it might just be a Duel issue. Because I feel like I might have the same problems if I play Snake Eye or whatever. I'm not sure. Maybe you can play some different non-engine in this deck to make it slightly stronger. I'm not sure. Is it Fusion in this line? I don't have 3 to immediately go for the Creation King. Or is it just Sleepy? I'm not sure. Let's go for fusion. Oh, almost added back. Well, it's just like part of me always wants to use Leapy to go into Twin and Fusion to go into the big one, because then I have to use less material from my hand. But I don't know. No hand traps, Sasha. Yeah, I might have to try and go for Paradise Smasher here. I might have to try and go for Paradise Smasher. But I'm not sure if I can with the way this played out. So these three. Let me see. I can probably get Paradise Smashers because I haven't summoned horse from hand yet. I just have to find another horse. I think I can. Hold up. So fusion. Destroy this, right? Add a bone party. Now I have a horse in the graveyard. I don't have enough. I need one more memento name. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. I can't use the dice smasher here. I cannot smash dice right now. Gamba 2 mat? No, we're not doing that. No, we're not doing that. Like here I could have added the second. Once again, because my position is not that strong here, I am going to go for the riskier play with IP Masquerena. Okay. It is Tempai. I definitely have to look into the Paradise Smasher lines. 100%. Didn't have any 10 buy cards. Okay. Not the greatest hand, but fine wing second. Do I Ash Senga Engine, dude? I feel like I do. It does so much. Looks like they're just going for Fiendsmith now. I'm not gonna Fuva preemptively because I think I need another draw. Because like my hand does not play through one hand trap. I'll let him get the Requiem. Love this game. Well, at least they don't have Snake Eye yet. I don't know, man. Maybe it is the deck. Let me try something else. Let's jam some branded. Can my branded opponent's hands ever look like this? Like, ever? Someone in chat just said it earlier, but I also now see it. I didn't put Grand Guignol in this deck. Because I didn't copy it, I just built it, and the Grand didn't come up when I typed Albaz. So I just don't have that. I was wondering why the extra deck had so much space. I had room for Verte, Chaos, Guardian Chimera, Queritus, Furious, Dragos. I had space for everything, dude. And now I see why. But that makes my fusion deployment a lot weaker. Oh wait, I can't use it. Oh my god. No, I think I'm gonna end for today, dude. I'm just tilted right now. I don't play well, and I just don't want to play Master Duel right now. It's just tilting. Yeah, dude. I don't know. I'll see you guys.